The U.S. is taking action against Pakistan, freezing some $300 million in military aid as it accuses that country of just not doing enough to battle terrorist groups on its own soil. We're joined now by Niall Gardner, who's the director of the Margaret Thatcher Center for Freedom. Niall, let's start simple on this. Right move, freezing the $300 million in military aid?
Absolutely the right move. I think this sends the right message to Pakistan. And for many, many years, decades even, Pakistan has been playing a very dangerous sort of double game here with regard to the war on terror. On the one hand, it has provided some assistance to the United States with the war in Afghanistan, allowing the supplies to move forward to NATO forces in Afghanistan. On the other hand, Pakistan has continued to provide a safe haven to a number of Islamist terrorist organizations operating in the north of the country, in the federally administered tribal regions. And in particular, an organization known as the Haqqani Network, which is tied to the Taliban, has been given aid and support by elements of the Pakistani government, in particular the security services. And so Washington is saying enough is enough.
Right.
Pakistan has to decide whose side it's on in this war against Islamist terrorism.
There's been a push-pull here. I mean, when you think about it, we're getting close to 2 decades in the post-9/11 era with Pakistan in terms of, to your point, needing and sometimes getting their help and other times just not getting the cooperation that we need. So is the financial motivation, I'm sure in the past it's been tried as well, but is the financial motivation the one that'll speak to Pakistan? They have struggles economically, right?
I think it's an important aspect, I think, for U.S.-Pakistan relations. Incredibly, the United States has given about $33 billion worth of aid to Pakistan since the 9/11 attacks, and that money is now ending. And this, of course, is an issue for Pakistan. This is a country that's heavily in debt. It's actually heavily indebted in many ways to China, which has invested heavily in Pakistan in the last few years to the tune of about $62 billion. And so the United States is sending a very clear signal to Pakistan that any further assistance from the United States to Pakistan depends upon Pakistan siding with the United States.
Right.
In the war in Afghanistan and against Islamist terrorist organizations.
Now, what would the consequence for us, for the United States, be if there was just a complete economic collapse in Pakistan? I know Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, I believe is going back there again this week, but he'd been quoted earlier in the summer, back in July, as saying the IMF should not bail out Pakistan again, the International Monetary Fund, which has bailed them out a number of times in the past. So should we just let them go and, you know, let them fail, see what happens, or does the U.S. have an interest because of the geography here in kind of keeping Pakistan afloat?
Well, I think the United States has a keen interest in ensuring that Pakistan remains a long-term partner for the United States. But the United States cannot, though, I think, be party to endless bailouts of Pakistan through the IMF. And if indeed the IMF was to loan money to Pakistan, Pakistan would use that money to repay debts to China. Mm-hmm. That's not in the U.S. national interest. And so the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, has been absolutely right to oppose a further IMF bailout of Pakistan. And also, I think that Mike Pompeo will be emphasizing to the new Pakistan Prime Minister, Imran Khan, this week, that Pakistan needs to really launch a new approach towards its dealings with the United States, a far more positive agenda for U.S.-Pakistan relations, one that rejects Islamist extremism, one that also is far more cooperative in terms of the U.S.-led military efforts in Afghanistan. And also, Washington would like to see a Pakistan that is less adversarial towards India, and
Sure.
Pakistan, of course, has been very difficult on this front.
For many years. I think they've had more than a dozen IMF bailouts, which is really, really amazing. Niall Gardner, good to see you. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Great to see you.